Hello YouTube, Wes here checking in with a brand new episode of the Vinyl Survivor. This is where I talk about records that I've recently put through my listening process and deciding whether I want to keep them and add them to my permanent collection for good, or whether there's something that just wasn't for me or has other issues that keep me from keeping them in my permanent collection. So I take some serious time to listen to each and every album before adding it to my collection. So this is where I tell you what's going in the permanent collection and what is not. So let's get into this episode. I believe we're on episode 133. So the first thing I have for you today is a piece of New Orleans brass band music. This is the Destined Olympia Brass Band of New Orleans. This is their album Here Come the Great Olympia Band. So yeah, this kind of music is very unique to New Orleans. It's something you don't really hear anywhere else as far as I know. Very cool if you've never listened to a New Orleans brass band. Really cool sort of mixture of New Orleans kind of swing jazz with a bit of sort of a funky kind of, I don't even know how to put it, but it's just, I really enjoy it. It's kind of weird. I don't really like ragtime kind of music or anything like that, but this sort of has that same feel, but it's good. Really dug this a lot. I was really glad to have found this. It's something a type of music I've been looking for, not regularly recorded, and I was really happy to find this, and definitely staying in the collection. Really dug listening to this. Really cool stuff. Alright, next thing I got to talk about here with you is album by Robert Mason as Star Drive, Intergalactic Trot. This is kind of some mid-70s synthy kind of instrumental kind of music. At times it's very, very cheesy. At other times it's kind of good and kind of interesting musically. Mainly, like, there's a cover of like Strawberry Fields Forever. Whenever there's a cover of anything on this type of album, you know it's going to be bad, or you can pretty much guess it's going to be bad, which in this case it is. But when there's sort of new compositions done by these artists, they're usually really interesting and really good. And that's what I like about this, is the sort of new compositions that he's made on here. The title track, Intergalactic Trot, is really cool. It gets really spacey and synthy at times, and at other times it's really sort of cheesy and bippity-boppity kind of cheap sounding stuff. So overall, as a whole, it's kind of a mixed bag, but there's some really good stuff in here and some really bad stuff in here. It's one of those kind of albums where it's kind of all over the place with the quality, but I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I think I'm gonna be holding on to this. I'm gonna keep it in the collection for now, because I did like several parts of this. I just realized I haven't been showing the vinyl on these. It's normally a part of this Vinyl Survivor thing. That's how long it's been since I made one, but yeah, this one's on the Elektra label, but the Butterfly Elektra label, but it is a CD4 quadradisc release, so it has the quadradisc logo on it, and it's on a black label, and it's normally sort of a reddish label or a greenish label. All right, next thing I got here is a classic, doesn't need much introduction, self-titled album by Procol Harum. This one has Whiter Shade of Pale on it, of course. This is the stereo version, much more common. I think from what I've heard, the mono version is the one to have on this, but difficult to find. But a cool album nonetheless. You know, Whiter Shade of Pale is a great song, and through, this is a great album. A Christmas Camel is a great song on here. Yeah, definitely one to pick up if you see it cheap, and definitely enjoyed having this. This is a pretty nice copy of it I found on that lovely Darum label. Always like that label. Procol Harum, self-titled, is staying in the collection. Nice album there. Nice late 60s rock kind of stuff there. All right, next up is a vocalist named Carol Hall with her album titled I'll Be Your Lady. This was sort of a blind buy for me. It was sealed when I bought it. It is on the Electra 4000 series, so I bought it somewhat based on that, but it is not good at all. I cannot recommend this. This is kind of some cheesy, vocally kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, you can kind of tell by the cover, I guess. I should have known that it's almost loungy at times, and it's kind of just very sleepy and not really that interesting. Just have a nice lyric sheet if you want to follow along on that. And there's the Electra Green label. So yeah, Carol Hall, I'll Be Your Lady, definitely just wasn't for me, and this one's not going to be staying in the collection. All right, next up, another one that doesn't need much introduction or talking about. I'll get through this one pretty quickly, but that is the most recent album, even though it's close to 2 years old at this point, I think. Adele's 25. Yeah, 2015. This came out at the end of 2015. So yeah, close to 2 years old at this point. But yeah, another good album from Adele. If you like Adele, you like this kind of stuff. I mean, it's a nice inner with some photos of the recording sessions, some liner notes on there. Really nice heavy pressing of this. This was pressed at RTI. Sounds awesome. Really nice quality pressing on this. So definitely pleased by that. Really well done. Glad that they went with a good quality company and made a really nice job of this and didn't just rush it out, being Adele. Adele's 25, actually the only Adele album I own a physical copy of. I don't have her first two albums on CD or vinyl, but just bought this one because I had some store credit at the time, and it was a new release and I wanted to hear it, so grabbed it. Okay, next up, a piece of jazz, sort of a compilation of sorts, I guess you could say. This is Dave Brubeck, Adventures in Time. 2 LP compilation on Columbia of just Dave Brubeck stuff. So of course you got Take 5 on here, Blue Rondo La Turque, some other stuff he's known for. I would imagine. I mean, he's mostly known for Take 5, but gatefold with an essay in it, and then this is just on the Columbia orange and red label. Nothing too fancy there, but yeah, I still haven't found a copy of Time Out that has been worth buying, so this is what I have for Dave Brubeck right now, and fills a nice void, and it's a nice little compilation of Dave Brubeck stuff. So that's a pretty good one. If you happen to stumble across this one for cheap, I'd say it's a good one to have. So yeah, Dave Brubeck, Time, Adventures in Time, staying in my collection. All right, next up we got an album from Robert Palmer. This is Pressure Drop from 1975. Robert Palmer does sort of a pop rock kind of thing, mid-70s kind of stuff. I've always liked Robert Palmer songs and stuff, and I've had different compilations and stuff through the years, and I really enjoy his music. I don't know, just dig this, and yeah, it's kind of a cool album cover. I like it. One's on the Island Purple label. Robert Palmer, Pressure Drop, staying in the collection. Nice album by him. Good to hear that one. Okay, moving on back into some sort of somewhat modern rock. I guess this is pretty old at this point, actually. You could call this a classic. But that is the Smashing Pumpkins with their album Gish. Now, this is the foil release of the re-release of this album from 2011. Nice heavy Stoughton jacket on this one, and a nice full foil cover. It's a gatefold as well. Sort of another fisheye view of the band, and then lyrics and liner notes in there as well. And then the inner sleeve, kind of cool. They did all of the frames from the photo shoot for the album cover. Shot on Kodak T-Max 35mm film, which is pretty cool. So this is on 180 gram black vinyl. Custom labels on this. So yeah, I really didn't get, when I was growing up, I really didn't get into Smashing Pumpkins until Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. So these earlier records from them, I really didn't know much about. At the time, I was mainly into hip hop anyway, so I really didn't go back and search for other albums by them. Just sort of got into the hit songs that were from that album, you know, 1979 and those type of songs. So it's been cool to sort of go back and hear these earlier albums from them. So yeah, this is pretty cool. Definitely a very loud, brash, sort of in-your-face kind of sound. Definitely different from where they ended up going later on. But yeah, this is a cool thing to add to the collection, and I enjoyed it. All right, next thing I have to talk about here is a compilation from the audio company JBL. This is titled Sessions. 2 LP set from them of just some music that they released to sort of show off their audio equipment back in the 70s. I think this was released. 73 is when this was released. So, you know, you got some different types of music on here. Lots of sort of ambient and classical kind of things. They go through and sort of just have some really nice recordings of individual instruments, so you can really hear the different sounds that the audio equipment is able to reproduce and all that kind of thing. Just sort of a demo, really cool high-end sort of audiophile demonstration kind of record. Sort of custom, it says JBL and Custom Fidelity on it. I don't know if Custom Fidelity is a sort of an audiophile kind of brand or something. Yeah, this was an interesting thing to sort of listen to and take a tour through. As I said, it's mostly just sort of those recordings of individual instruments and what they sound like, and how, you know, how to sort of listen to different pieces of audio gear to tell whether they're good or not and those kind of things. So from an enjoyability thing, it's kind of a one and done kind of thing. So for that reason, this is not going to be staying in the collection, but an interesting, as I said, an interesting thing to sort of take a tour through once, just to experience it. Sort of some early 70s audiophile kind of stuff. Okay, and last but not least, we're going to talk about a little bit of, I guess you could call it, new wave here. This is the Earons with Here on Earth from 1984. Didn't know what I would think of the Earons, but I like them quite a bit. Yeah, this is an enjoyable album, and yeah, I dug this one quite a bit. And they are on the Island label, which is cool. Don't think I've seen this Island label before. I guess that's it came around that time. So yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of the Vinyl Survivor. Hope you enjoyed this batch of records. As you saw, 8 of them are staying in the collection and 2 of them didn't quite make it. So that's a pretty good ratio. Hope you enjoyed this batch of records. Do these as often as I can, to also do other vinyl and music related videos here on the channel, so I think you'll enjoy it. If you aren't already subscribed, please subscribe. Leave me a thumbs up. Leave me some comments down below if you have any. Thank you for watching. Have a great day or a great night, and we'll see you again real soon. Cheers.